What is up, math superstars? In this edition of Mr. Peterson Presents, we're talking about some problem-solving strategies you can use in dealing with word problems that have to do with fractions. And so if you notice this video might look a little different, is because I am recording live because my computer decided to not work properly with the software I normally use. And so bear with this video. It's helpful. And you could probably see some mistakes in there, but hey, guess what? Mistakes help us improve, and that's what we're getting at today with problem solving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over to my screen, and you might hear the birds in the background chirping. That means it is a good day. And so we got some problem solving strategies with fractions. And so our first problem here, we have our friend Jamal. He walks. Oops, let me get my pen ready to go. I don't think I'm ready to rock and roll here. So we have our friend Jamal. He walked 3/4 of a mile yesterday morning and 1/8 a mile yesterday afternoon. What's the total distance walked by Jamal? So our very first step, we have to identify the facts. So our facts is that our friend Jamal, so fact number one, is that he walked yesterday. And so just get a visual of what he's doing. He could be walking to the store. He could be walking to school. He could be walking to see some friends. But he walked yesterday. And so in the morning, he walked 3/4 of a mile. And so you might think maybe he walked to school. But you notice that the third little fact here is that he walked 1/8 of the mile in the afternoon. So maybe he walked to school from his house, but then he walked to a friend's house after school. We really don't know, but we just have some general facts just to get us an idea. And so in problem solving, if you can get to step one and identify the facts, that means you're going to be on the right track for figuring out how to solve this. And so for step two, what is the problem? So our problem is we have to figure out right here, what's the total distance our friend Jamal walked? And so in all together, total means we're going to figure out what this total is that he walked. Step three, what operation would we do to solve this? And we need to set it up. So the operation is, obviously, we're going to add these fractions together. So in adding these fractions together, we have 3/4 plus 1/8. And so you notice we haven't really solved anything yet. All we're doing is we're just figuring out what this problem is saying and setting it up properly. So step four is going to tell us what are the steps to answer this problem. And so when we're dealing with adding fractions, our first step is we're going to make common denominators. Our second step after we do that is we're going to add the numerators together. And our third step is we're going to keep the denominators. So here's the way that this is going to look, because in step five, now we're going to solve it. So you can say, man, that took some steps to get there. But this is a way to slow your brain down, to make sure that you get all the key parts, make sure you set it up correctly before you start plugging in numbers and figuring it out. So here we go, our first step that we said, and when we did step four, we got to figure out common denominators. So common denominator is going to be 8. So let's go ahead and rewrite both of these fractions with a common denominator of 8. And so 1/8 will stay the same, but 3/4, we need to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. So 2 times 4 is going to give us 8. So 2 times 3 will give us 6. And what one of the steps is we're going to keep our denominator same as 8. And we're going to add our numerators together. 6 plus 1 is 7. So our friend Jamal, he walked 7/8 of a mile. And so you can see we did some steps here, kind of slow us down a little bit to make sure that we solve this correctly. So now let's take a look at the second problem here. So this is the back of the video notes. If you have them, if you're watching this live currently, you don't have any video notes, but hey, guess what? You're going to jump on things for tomorrow. So here's this problem. We have a jug of drinking water. It contained 1.5 gallons. After one day, 5/8 of a gallon had been used. how much water was left in the jug. And so step one, what are the facts? Is we have this jug of water. It held 1.5 gallons of water. And you're like, wow, we're just gathering facts. Second fact that we have in here is that somebody used 5/8 of a gallon. So that means somebody was pretty thirsty, drank a little over half of a gallon of water here. So step two, what's the problem? So you can always see the problem is identified with the question mark usually, is how much water was left in the jug. So that's a step two. So right now, if you can get through step one and step two, you can say that you're going to be on the right track. So step three, what operation are we going to use here? So in order to figure out how much water was left in the jug, we're going to be subtracting these fractions. And so all we're doing is we're setting it up. So we have 1.5 minus 5/8. And then we have some steps to help us out here. And so there's a couple of different ways we can subtract the fractions. This is the way that I do it. You might be the type of person that makes all the mixed numbers into improper fractions and then does some things. But these are the steps that I'm going to use here in this video. Step number one is we're going to subtract the whole numbers. In step number two, we're going to make common denominators for our fractions. In step three, we're going to subtract our numerators. And our last step is we're going to keep the denominators. So now let's go ahead and solve it. And so our first step is we're going to go ahead and subtract our whole numbers. So we have 1 minus 0 is going to give us 1. And then we have 1.5 minus 5/8 here. And so we notice something. Let's go ahead and actually convert both fractions common denominators. So we have 1 4/8 minus 5/8. And we notice something that we can't subtract 4 minus 5 for this problem. And so let's go ahead and use some of the strategies that some people use is they make that 1 4/8 into a mixed number. And so when we do this, we can do 8 times 1 gives us 8, plus 4 gives us 12. And so let's go ahead and rewrite that fraction. 12 over 8 minus 5 over 8. Now we can go ahead, we have common denominators. Let's subtract our numerators. Gives us 7. And we keep the denominator sign the same, which is 8. And so we can say that how much was left in the jug? We can say that there is 7/8 of a gallon left in this jug. And so you can see that between step 4 and step 5, you might realize, you know what, maybe the strategy in step 4 wasn't really the best strategy to use, but I can pick up a different strategy by saying, you know what, since I had to rename the whole, I didn't like that idea, so I'm going to go ahead and make my mixed number into an improper fraction and then go ahead and subtract it. So we have some different problem solving strategies for fractions here. And so what you got next is you're going to go into IXL and you have a blank sheet that has 10 spaces there. So what you're going to do is you're going to do 10 problems, fill them in. And if you're stuck on any of them or you make a mistake, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go back and fix it in that square. And so you're going to show all your work in there and then get it checked for a smiley face. So if you have any questions or comments, you can leave comments below. But this is our live feed problem solving, how to solve for addition and subtraction of fractions.